Good morning, afternoon, evening, late night, 4 in the morning, whenever you're watching or listening to this.
Yep. How you guys doing today?
So today we wanted to cover the topic of raid prep because the Battle of the Dazar'alor is coming up on...
The 20
Ba-ba-da-da.
seconds.
Oh,
Did I kill your drum roll?
Yes.
Alright, guys. So, what we're going to talk about now is, like Pizza said, we are engaging in raid prep. So, this is how you can maybe better prepare yourself and get ready for the raid, because if you go into a raid unprepared, you're going to feel unprepared. You're going to feel bad. You're going to feel lost, and you may end up dragging the rest of your group down with you, which is not good when you're trying to progress.
Especially since, there's stuff in-game you have to do, there's stuff even in real life that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest tips that I have is keep water on hand, because especially if you're progression rating, you're probably going to be there a while.
Yeah. And if you're progression rating, do some meal prep, things like that. Because you're going to be sitting there for a couple of hours, maybe without a break. Maybe raid leader's like, hey, we're not getting a break until we, after we down this boss.
Which feels a little fucked up to me, but...
Yeah, it happens sometimes. It's basically so that you don't get, what I have seen in the past is a stream of AFKs.
That makes sense.
So you one guy goes oh, I gotta go bio, and everyone else well, I gotta go bio too.
Well, I mean, if you prevent breaks, people are gonna get burnt out.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
I more of mean so say someone has to go step away from the computer for a second, and then someone else well, I need to go do step away too, but it's they don't go
at the same time.
At the same time, they literally go and the one person will be back and they're already gone. So now you're having to wait.
That's why you have a scheduled break time.
Yeah, exactly.
Back before now.
Exactly.
It's because with your guild, it's usually 3 minutes.
We'd usually do 5.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we'll do 5.
The other day you said 3.
That was because break time had already started. Oh. So generally we'll do 5 for a short break for bio and things like that.
I feel like a break is healthy anyways. You need to get up and stretch and make sure that your blood's flowing right. It's just not healthy to sit in a chair for hours on end.
Yeah, and stretch regularly. That's a really good thing to do too. So, if you don't have a scheduled break or anything like that, the best time to actually get up and AFK for a second to, go to the bathroom, whatever, is during trash pulls. Because...
Or if you've died and you're just waiting...
Yeah, but that you don't really want to fall into that trap either, because that can hold people up too, because they're waiting on you to come back. Because
I mean, a lot of times in raids, what I've noticed from just watching you is you can't res until everyone is dead.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying if you're on
That's
a boss
and
you die, yeah. Unless you're the tank and your role is essential to the group, yeah, don't AFK like that. During trash pulls and things like that, the chance of the group wiping is pretty slim. So you're safe to go ahead and step away, do what you got to do for a few minutes, and then come back.
Listen to your body. Don't neglect your health.
Exactly.
Because of a raid.
And if your group is no, you can't go to the bathroom, it's
do you really want to be in that group?
Yeah, I understand the lure to progression rating, but if you're not getting those basic things taken care of, then maybe reconsider your group.
Steak, are you okay over there?
Yeah, I just have a little bit air trapped in my throat here.
Get it out. That beer can be a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah, that's delicious. So. All right. So a lot of what, and I had gotten this from a couple friends of mine that I raid with, some ideas for what they want to hear, and some ideas for what would be good topics to cover in this. So the first thing you should worry about within the game is make sure that your azerite necklace is caught up. Make sure that your Heart of Azeroth is caught up to a relatively good level. So what they're recommending is around level 35, because as soon as Dazar'alor hits, it's going to do what it did prior to... they had made it to where every week you would need less and less azerite power to increase the rank of your necklace.
Now, Steak, for someone who is relatively new to not Dazar'alor, to BFA,
Mm-hmm.
What's required to get your necklace up?
So just go and get azerite power. If you're questing, you'll get it from your quest occasionally. You'll get it out of
Chests.
not so much chest anymore. More of killing rares. You'll get it out of that. But like honestly, level up to 120 and it'll progress as it's gonna progress in ways. You'll get it from dungeons, but as soon as you hit 120,
Do you get them from Battlegrounds?
yeah, you do. You get them from Battlegrounds. Any kind of like group content, you're gonna get them from, and but don't really stress it before 120 because you're not gonna be able to get the amount you want. But what happens as soon as you hit 120, you'll have access to more ways to get it. Like you'll be able, or you can do the island expeditions is a good way to get it and a good experience to leveling up.
What about Warfronts?
Don't rely on them for it. Like I'll be honest, they're probably one of the worst ways to do anything in the game.
Just do yourself a favor and just skip out on them.
Do like if you don't, especially if you don't need the 370 gear anymore. I don't bother with it anymore really.
I'm sorry, they're the dumbest thing in game right now.
Yeah, they are. But we'll cover that later on. Let's
fine. I'll
stay on top of that. So once you hit 120, you can do world quests and things like that, and you can honestly farm it. And up until like certain levels, it's kind of not capped. So when you get to around like I think it's 20. No, it's like 30 when it's like when the cap kind of goes away, or when the lack of a cap goes away, and you're starting to see like, oh, I need 26,000 to get to the next one. But that's gonna go down and down each week after Desire Lord releases, so it's gonna be easy to catch up. However, try to get yourself up to at least like 35, and the reason for this is that you want the traits on the new gear. The new gear that's coming out is going to have 2 main ring traits, which are going to be like spec specific or like the ones that actually influence your DPS. And that's going to be something you absolutely want. I think for like even on heroic, the highest azerite ring is like 38.
So, Steak, we talked about something earlier, like the breaks. Is a pretty nice transition into our next point of what's reasonable versus unreasonable requirements by guilds, and to know when you're being taken advantage of.
Yeah, so, yeah, like you said, the breaks is definitely one thing. It basically requiring you to do things
that
like,
are a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, a little bit ridiculous. Like, I know this is kind of harping on some like the really big guilds. They have to have 3 or 4 alts, or like at least 2 or 3, who are like as geared as their main for like switching out purposes. And it's like I get it, I get needing to be prepared for any situation, but at the same time, it's like that's a little much to me.
Like how can you juggle all that and then still have a life outside of the game? Is how I feel about it. I mean, to me, it's just not healthy to be on the game 24/7.
Right.
To be able to have
and you know
so many alts that are perfect.
With as much as I do play, my main, my demon hunter, he's like up there. He's very well geared. He's pretty strong, but my warrior and my death knight are like 10 to 15 item levels below him, and it shows. Like if you compare him like DPS wise, my demon hunter is just gonna freaking own them.
'Cause like, I guess learn when to recognize when your guild is trying to require too much of your time and attention.
So some things that are more in unreasonable category too. If you're the only one in your guild that's like going out and now if you choose to do this on your own, that's fine. That's you're choosing that. So if you're the only one who is having to do all the herbing and all like the mining and all like the fishing for the feast and things like that, if you're the only one and your guild is expecting you to do that, like, hey, we need to divide this up amongst other players. You're asking a lot of me. Now, it's one thing if you're like, hey, I'm going to make flasks for you guys, that's fine.
You know, the reasonable versus unreasonable even goes so far as, like, some guilds that you miss once because you have, like, an emergency, and they're like, oh, well, you can never raid with us again.
Yeah, now, I would say in circumstances like that, guilds who do this properly, they have calendars, and you can, like... Get your guildmates' phone numbers. Like, get some way to contact them and be like, hey, I have an emergency.
I'm talking about, like, whenever something comes up that is an absolute emergency and you, like, it's understandable to blow off a game.
Yeah.
For an actual emergency.
Right, and I would, like I said, in that kind of situation, like, with the guild I'm in right now, like, there have been times in the past that I've raided with him that I just shot him a text like, hey, I can't make it for whatever reason.
But that's a healthy guild. We're talking about unreasonable
Yeah,
requirements.
if you send them a message and be like, hey, I can't make it.
Like, I have
like, say
some
your wife's
emergency.
going to labor or something.
Like, if your guild is willing to tell you that you can't raid with them anymore because you had an emergency.
If they bench you permanently for something like that, that's a little absurd. Now, I understand if it's, like, repeated things, which, same thing for, like, a job. If you repeatedly miss, it's like, hey, you're not reliable. That's different.
That's not what I was talking about, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, if you're there every week, you know, if you miss, like, one, that's fine. You know? Another thing, too, they don't really have this in the game anymore, but back when you needed resistance sets, and this is actually one of the reasons why a guild I was in back in Burning Crusade fell apart when we were trying to do like Serpent Shrine and then TK, is that, like, me and, like, 2 other guildies were the only people contributing to the resistance sets. And it's like, hey, you can't expect us to do this. It's like, yeah, we'll make them for ourselves, but we can't make them for everybody in the guild. Like, if you're going to doing this, you guys have to contribute too. Like, you can't just have put all the work on us.
So, another thing that I've noticed in some guilds, and hear me out before you stop me,
okay,
is guilds that play favorites.
Yeah.
And when I say play favorites, I don't mean like, oh, well, you're top DPS, you're the favorite. What I mean is somebody who is obviously the guild leader's favorite for whatever reason, whether it be a relationship or whatever, and they're not doing so hot, but they're still favored over someone who is working their ass off.
I've actually seen that, and I agree with you there. I was in a guild who, and come to find out, these were actually people who were trying to poach players. And what that means is that they go and, like, they'll get a guild that's, like, falling apart, and they'll recruit them and be like, hey, you know, you can raid with us. And what they'll do is they'll run them through raids. And they'll notice the good players they'll have in the group and be like, hey, you know, we want you to run with this group, we want you to stay in this group here instead of this other group you're running with. And then what they'll do is they'll just kick everybody else that wasn't, like, up to their, like, expectation level, and they'll poach certain players, and it's like, that's messed up.
I mean, that is messed up, but it's not exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but okay,
so a hypothetical situation, say that you're a guild leader.
Mm-hmm.
And say that I was in said guild and I was not doing very good.
Right.
But there were people in the guild that were phenomenal, that were doing everything they needed to do. They were performing extremely well, but you still favored me.
Right.
And benched them because I was a favorite. That's what I'm talking about.
So actually, coming back to what I was saying about the other guild, was the guild leader's wife was running in the group, and, like, there were several people that were, like, performing way better than she was, and even better than the guild leader. And it's just like, come on, guys, we're pulling more of a weight in here than you are, and you're saying that you're, you know, King Dick, whatever. The funny part was, in my current guild, they'd actually been in there, and, like, they called one of the raid leaders an asshole. Now, this guy, the raid leader, was a drill sergeant in, I think, the Marines or the Army. He was Texas toilet paper. He would not take shit off of anybody. Okay, I have heard him make people cry back when we used Vent. He would make people cry. But at the same time, you know, he was not unfair. He would pull you to the side before he would actually just, like, out you. But if you pissed him off, like, they were just, like, it was a long night, and they were just like, well, you're just an asshole.
Oh,
and
no.
He kicked them from the raid and the guild right then.
So, to you, and because I know that your guildies are going to listen to this, like people that I plan on running with once I hit 120, if I am not performing up to par, I do not expect you to let me still raid with you guys until I up my performance.
Now, I mean, it's one thing in a casual group.
I'm not talking about a casual group.
But like in a progression group, like I can tell you right now that the progression group I run with, if you're not performing, they're gonna be like, hey,
Yeah.
they'll be nice about it. But like, hey, go ahead and get some more gear, go do mythics and stuff like that. Learn the fights more. But they're not just gonna be like, oh, well, you're terrible, get out of here. No, they're gonna be respectful about it.
I will, and I'm letting you and them know that I will appreciate if you guys can let me know what I do wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that also takes me to another point of the reasonable versus unreasonable. If your guild just tells you that you're fucking awful and don't tell you how you can possibly improve,
Yeah.
then that I understand of like, pay attention to yourself, like self crit, you need to learn this better, but if they're just telling you that you're absolute shit and they don't tell you why.
So, progression guilds typically will do stuff like logs. And you can actually go and look at the logs, and it's a really good way to improve yourself because there's a lot of tools in place, especially if you want to be a progression raider, that you need to be doing these things anyways. You need to go look into the Discords. You need to go, like, Icy Veins. You need to go just, like, talk to somebody that plays your class that's doing well.
So, in my personal defense, I'm not nearly as an experienced player or raider as you guys are. So I do appreciate whenever you or somebody else lets me know if I've done something wrong. And I know that's probably the case for a lot of people, especially since when a new expansion comes in, new players come in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just not fair to just be like, oh, well, you're shit, and then don't tell people why.
Yeah. Now, like, what they would tell people is like, hey, go look at the logs, see what it is you're doing wrong. You can actually do a comparison by people who are wearing similar gear to you and similar item level to you. Like, oh, this is what this guy's doing that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
And I actually picked that out myself the other day.
That's still a way of letting people know.
Yeah.
My whole point is if you're just being told that you're absolute crap, and nobody is helping you figure out why.
So what I will say is that they have an entire section in their Discord dedicated to logs.
Yeah.
And when they do log, they post them up in there.
Like
and
I
they're
said,
updated after every boss fight.
Your guild is healthy. We're addressing unhealthy things.
So, all right. So this kind of ties back into the necklace part here, is azerite power. Now, if you're at a certain point to where, like, I'm not saying don't continue to farm it, but if you're really high up in necklace level, like if you're 37, 38 right now, just kind of chill a little bit on it. I mean, it's same thing as artifact power was. It's until it starts being like reduced requirement for the necklace, you're not really doing yourself many favors. You're just kind of like killing time.
Yeah.
Find something else to do with your time. All right. So one thing that is really important too is going into the raid, try to get the right azerite gear with the right traits. The 385 pieces that you can buy off the vendor. I got really lucky the other day and I bought one and it's best in slot shoulder spot for my tank. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Because, like, I was just like, man, this thing is going to have perfect traits and everything. So it's something you want 3 of your pieces going into Jazara lore to be your best in slot. So one thing that's really cool is that you no longer are tied down to having an old year piece, because the re-origination aura is not going to be a thing in Jazara lore, which is great. Like, what I hated is here recently I've gotten some really good pieces, but I can't use them in old year because I would miss like a huge stat. I would miss 750 haste, and it's like, that is a massive amount of haste.
Is that for
in old year?
Well, no, I mean for what spec?
Both actually.
For my own sanity.
So both actually, for both my Havoc and my Vengeance, because it's the high. So what it does is it takes your highest stat, and it increases that by so much based upon how many stacks of the array you have. So because I do have 10 stacks of it, I've got 750 of haste. Because haste is my highest stat on both specs, because it's the best stat for both specs. So, and it kind of varies per spec. Alright, so something really, really important And this is something that, like, I've in the past gotten pissed off at raiders coming into the fights and being like, okay, I need everything explained to me. And it's like, are you serious?
You know, I can understand one or two things, but if you go into a fight completely unprepared, you deserve to die.
Like, I'm not saying memorize every aspect of the fight, but at least know what you're required to do as, like, your role. Like, if you're a tank, know what the debuff does to you that a boss puts on you.
You know, I think that we have brought this up in a podcast before.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Of the hunter who just went in and pulled everything, who pulled the boss before they were supposed to, and like his excuse was, sorry, new to hunter.
Yeah.
Okay, you still went into what was it, a mythic plus?
No, that was just like, it was like a simpler dungeon.
Okay, okay, still that's a little bit
there
more
was a
understandable.
hunter though that did go into a mythic key, and he just did not even know the mechanics, and it's like, dude.
It's like you're going into a really high level.
Yeah.
Like,
you're going to high level content.
Like, are you telling me that you didn't do like something easier before this to prepare yourself?
Or
like,
at least
come on.
You have a dungeon journal. I can understand back at BC and Wrath, you did not have those luxuries.
Look, man, they just took Illidan's words a little bit too seriously.
What, you're not prepared?
Yes.
So,
I am drinking mine way faster
research
than you
the
are.
boss fights. Like, I'm going to give a link to Fat Boss, because those guys, they are really good at outlining the boss fights.
Because, like, for one, the dungeon guides are your best friends. YouTube is your best friend.
Yeah.
Icy Veins and Wowhead, your best friend. And we've stressed this before, take advantage of the Discords.
Yeah.
Like, it is there for your benefit.
Because I think it's up to the point now, I think all the boss fights are on Fat Boss. If they're not, they're still on Icy Veins. They've broken down what the bosses do.
So, Fat Boss, is that a YouTube channel?
Yes, it's a YouTube channel. It's these two guys that they're in a guild. They're in the EU server, and like they have really funny commentary in their video. I've laughed my ass off a couple times.
Ours?
Oh, very funny. They're way funny. So they're really good, and you see the fight from a couple of different perspectives, because like they switch on who's doing what and who's filming.
So speaking of perspectives, I think I like our podcast so much because you get two really important perspectives.
Yeah.
The advanced player and the beginning player.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing there.
Sorry, that was really random.
No, it's people, those maybe they are a newer player.
That's what I like. You know, that's why I like doing this kind of stuff, because since you are an advanced player, you get a beginner's questions and an advanced answers.
It's like, sit down by the fire, kids. I'll give you some wisdom from my good old days in the war.
But let's be real here. I really started playing last year. Like, I played a little bit in 2016 when I first got here.
But running around as a level 20 going, I'm gonna hit this thing with a magic stick! It's
No.
not exactly the best.
So when I started playing, when I first got here, I was a demon hunter on your account.
Yeah.
And I didn't really take it seriously, but then I got my own account, and I actually really started playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a break for a while and came back last year, and I've been playing ever since. So I am still a pretty fresh player. I came in Legion.
Oh, yeah. So this is the kind of thing to where, like I said, research the fights. Just go through the dungeon journal. It's got it broken up by, tanks, DPS, and healers. Learn what abilities are going to affect you. Go through the boss's abilities. See if maybe you can mitigate a certain thing with, like, a damage ability, or damage mitigation ability.
So I know I was trying to be quiet about being right back. Where's the mop?
The mop? I don't know.
Fuck.
So.
There's a spider and I want to kill it.
Oh, no, you can use a broom and swat it. Sorry, guys, the pizza's over here trying to kill a spider on the ceiling.
It's above our bed.
That'll be fine.
Oh, it's in a little canopy thing. It ain't gonna get on there.
Okay. So next thing that we want to hit on is what kind of things should you bring to raids? Like, what kind of things are really good to take into the raid in-game?
Besides your devotion.
Besides your undying devotions killing bosses. That's right. So, buff foods, if your guild or group you're running with does not drop a feast, and same thing too, guys, maybe help contribute to some materials. Like if they're dropping them every week and you're eating them, try to contribute. Bring in fish, bring in food, whatever, or at least like drop in a little bit of gold or something to contribute for that.
I love the really, really kind people in Battlegrounds beforehand that will drop a feast for people. Like, that is the sweetest thing you could possibly do.
And then you've got things like augment runes. Now, augment runes, you get those by running LFRs, which, speaking of LFR, Mythic and LFR mode of Desire Lore will be coming the week after. So on the 29th is the first wing of LFR, and that's when Mythic opens.
Which, we got that information from,
Signs of Kalani brought it up in his channel.
Which we will be
and
linking.
a couple other people. Yeah, he's got
that's
a really
where we
nice
got
video.
a lot of our information.
He does really good videos too. He's got a very calming voice.
He does.
He's a really knowledgeable player, and like I've watched his videos for years now. So augment runes, make sure you get those. Buy them off the auction house if you need to. All right. So pots, make sure you have your DPS tank pots, healing pots, whatever you need to go into this raid. Go and research what your class and spec benefits most from in a fight. Say like you're a Frost DK. You're going to use the Bursting Blood in single target encounters, and then you're going to be using your Strength Potion in AoE type encounters. Any kind of cleave fights, you're going to use that. And it honestly varies based upon what class and spec you are. And also, make sure that you've got flasks. If your group's not dropping a cauldron, or even if they are, maybe help contribute, because it takes flasks to make those cauldrons. So, it's kind of thing like, even if you yourself are not getting the materials, if someone else in your group is providing them nonstop, contribute. Help them out.
This kind of goes back to the point that I made while we were talking about reasonable and unreasonable. Don't be the person that's taking advantage of other people as well.
Right.
And it's easy to fall into that unintentionally.
Oh, yeah. Like, I will bring, like, if I run out of my flask buff, like the cauldron flask buff, I've got my own flask. I bring my own pots every week, because I make my own pots if I need to. Or if I happen to don't make any, I go buy them off the auction house. Same thing for runes.
So, it just comes down to don't take advantage of other people as well. Come prepared yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, this is also a really good time for those that do craft to sell herbs, sell ore, sell other essential items, sell the augment runes. Say you're a tank, and you've got just like this plethora of augment runes sitting in your bags.
And download TSM.
Yeah, download TSM. There you go. And get ready to just pop those things on the auction house, because you're gonna make a pretty profit off that. Mm-hmm. Maybe not like right before the raid. Check the prices, because they will fluctuate. But within the first week of the raid, when people are needing to restock, that's going to be your best time to pop them right up on the auction house. And these are also really good times for guild recruitment, because people are like, hey, new raid's out. I want to join a guild so I have a regular spot to go. And this is a perfect time to drop in saying, hey, we're going to be recruiting, because, you can have up to have a couple heroic groups, and then, we're going to, kind of whittle it down to the 20 you want for your mythic. Or even if you have 40 people who are really good and they're dedicated, have 2 mythic groups, which would be, that'd be tough but awesome.
I feel like the best places, obviously, the general chat. But that's where most people are gonna go. But in my opinion, Facebook groups,
Discords, and even so, there's actually the WoW forums you can post up there too. There's plenty of guilds asking, and there's even a guild search thing in Blizzard UI. Granted, it's been out so long that I have my perma home for my guild, so I haven't even really dealt with it. All my characters are in one guild. So, granted, I'm basically an officer in that guild, so I'm,
You talking about
Yeah. So I'm not gonna step out anytime soon, And granted, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna raid with other people that I'm friends with and things like that. It just means that I've got a certain responsibility to that guild.
Didn't that guild kind of fall apart though?
Yeah.
You think it'll come back with a
I'm hoping it'll come back, but you know, I've kind of got like a guild loyalty for that. But at the same time, I am open to, you know, maybe venturing to another guild.
You still need to ask the one guild about maybe having like a raid schedule, like.
This is true. This is very true. I'm glad you brought that up, actually. So you're doing the planners, right?
I am. So what I'm wanting to do is, since Desire Lore is coming out, and yeah, there is a calendar in-game that you can use, but it's always nice to have a hard copy in case you can't access the in-game one.
Or say that, like, you just want a nice little, you know, calendar up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I feel like it's just more convenient. So if you want to hit up your guild that you're going to be running with and see if they may be interested in that, that'd be cool.
I'm sure a couple of them are probably going to be listening to this too. So guys, if you're listening,
if you're interested, hit me up.
So, you know, another thing I want to kind of hit on is the residuum. So it's like Titan residuum. I don't know how to say that word properly. So try to save that up, because as soon as the raid opens, as soon as Season 2 starts, you're going to be able to get, like, the higher level pieces. And it's going to be, like, mythic level pieces. Like, mythic Desire Lore pieces, like 415 pieces.
Well, 1 3/4 of a beer gets me drunk.
Drink more.
I am, man. Mama didn't raise no bitch.
So now's the time I think we're going to... You brought up the Warfront issue earlier. And I think that we can probably rant on that now.
What, are we done with the list?
Yeah, we're done with our list here.
All right,
so now we can harp on this.
So Warfronts are instances with extra steps. Let's be honest, and they suck. They would be so much better if they were PvP.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can lose them, but
you have to try to lose them.
Everybody in your group would have to be AFK. Like, you could have maybe like 3 or 4 people doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you'd probably still win. It'd take a while. You know,
I could take your thing out and just rub it all over the keyboard and we'd still win a Warfront. I mean, let's just be honest. I don't feel I don't feel like they serve a purpose that they could serve. I don't... Like I said, it's an instance with extra steps. It's an instance that you could possibly lose if you actually tried to lose it.
It's great and all that you're able to get that 1 385 piece the one time for Darkshore.
But ooh.
But like, it's the worst place to farm for gear. It's all like, go do a mythic, man. Go do like, hell, if the zones are open for patrolling, go do the world quest there.
You know what? If I wanted to do a Warfront-like thing, I would just go back to Thunder Totem and I would do the same quest over and over and over again.
Yeah, the Warfronts do get really tedious, because, like, after the quest, it's like, they're pointless. I don't even really try to do the Stromguard one anymore. Yeah, cool, there's a little currency so you can buy rewards and shit. Big damn deal. Okay, I've already bought one of the mounts. I have both of the pets. And, like, the other mount, I'll be honest, the Alliance one looks really cool, okay? The Alliance, I think it's like the Moon God Saber or whatever. That thing looks cool.
I can't stop thinking about my comparison.
But the bat looks like...
Ow!
Are you okay? Hit your knee on the desk there? But the bat looks like a derp, okay? We've already got that model in-game from, like, the Stromguard. When you go and kill the rares, you have a chance of getting the bat. It literally is the exact same model. And personally, I'm tired of recolors. Okay? I really don't like recolored mounts.
It's like, ooh, I get a bat in blue.
Like, if I'm dropping 700 of a currency that I've had to farm for, like, weeks on a mount, I want it to look really cool. I want it to fucking spit fire. I want it to drop a shit on the Alliance characters. I don't care.
Hey.
And what? If I'm flying in the air and it drops a deuce on an Alliance character, I'm gonna laugh.
What if it's me?
Makes it even funnier.
Fuck you.
So, I mean, I used to do some pretty heinous things PvP-wise to people. I would do roar bombs back in my Druid in BC, because I used to play on a PvP server.
Are you about to tell me that you went and ganked people?
No, I never went and ganked lobies. I would gank people that
Deserved it?
Could fight back. Well, yeah, deserved it. They could fight back.
Okay, that's fair.
And I was on a PvP server, so it was a thing to where everyone was fair game. And I would be on my druid, I'd be in flight form, I would drop down, and part of the way down, because Feline Grace, you don't take any fall damage from a certain distance, I would stealth midair, and then land on the ground, and then I would, like, jump on them and beat the hell out of them.
Rawr.
Yeah, it's just rawr, just a bunch of fur and anger and claws.
Is that how you decide? Is that how you describe our cat?
Yeah, if our cat could fly, if she had, like, bird wings, she would swoop down and kill us all.
Oh my god,
So-
that would be terrifying.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be, because she could get up there and get that freaking spider.
She would hunt through every alcove in this house and just nom spiders.
We would just see her in the corner, just exorcist style, like, running.
Running on the ceiling. But yeah, so the Warfront issue, like, and even Preach hits on this too in his video. It's like, what is the point of these things? Like, is there a... They don't really forward the story very much because it's like...
It's just, I guess, something they thought we would find fun.
Well, okay, so reason why his contention with it is it doesn't forward the story because the first one, Stormguard, we're fighting in Kulturas and Zandalor right now. What the hell does Stormguard have to do with either one of those areas?
Ow!
Stop picking your nose.
I'm not picking my nose.
So,
I've got a sneeze stuck in the back of my
So-
nose.
what does Stormguard have to do with any of those? And granted, the Darkshore one I understand more of, and they fixed the problems, a lot of the problems with the Stormguard. But even so, the Darkshore one was like, hey, let's take back this area, even though we don't have a tree to get back to. Like, the tree's still on fire, but they're so hell-bent on taking the land back, I don't get it.
Man, some people just want to watch themselves burn.
Like, if you're gonna do a Warfront, at least do it in an area to where you're not dividing your forces. Like, the Horde is at war with the Alliance right now. You need to have your forces concentrated. Because if you have your forces... Shut up.
No, I'm not laughing at that.
If you have your divorces separated...
No, that's not what I was... I'm laughing at the thing again.
If you have your forces separated out to where the Horde is fighting a war on 3 different theaters, that's a good way to lose a war.
Yeah.
I mean, even when, like, say, back when the U.S. was in World War II, we were in, like, 2 different fronts. We
Look,
divided our
man.
forces.
Look, man, if Scooby-Doo can get the basic concept that splitting up is a bad idea... What?
That's how white kids die in horror movies. Let's split up, gang. But, yeah, I don't know. I've got to the point to where I don't even really run the Stormguard one because the 370...
Stupid.
Well, it doesn't... the chance that I might get a Titan Forge is not enough for me to waste that much of my time. Because, like,
You could be doing better shit.
It is really... Yeah, I could be doing better shit. I could be running a Mythic. It's really fucking boring. Now, the Darkshore one, it's still got 385, so I still will want to do that one. And even doing the dailies there is kind of a pain in the ass. Like, it's cool if you're going to farm the rares and get the mounts and shit and the toys. That's fine. But, like, there's no real... I don't feel that I'm getting a good return on my investment for that particular
Oh, Jesus,
AI.
we're going to accountant now.
Well, no, return on investment is like anything. It's like you put in effort, you want something back for your effort. So, like, if I go into a Mythic Plus, if I say I do a 10, next week I'm going to get a chest and it's going to have great shit in it.
Ooh.
Ooh. But if I go into a Warfront, I get a 340 piece of gear, whoop-de-damn-do, and then I go and get, you know, at the end of it, I get a 370 or a 385. Now, could it Warforge? Sure. But is it really worth that time investment? Because the piece is randomized.
Yeah.
It could be anything. It could be a cloak that you've gotten the past 4 times you did. I've had happen to my Death Knight.
Oh, God.
I went into the Warfronts, 3 different weeks, and I got the same fucking cloak with the exact same stats. I'm like, okay, guys.
At
You need to
least have it, like...
have an internal checklist. Like, has this player gotten this piece of gear this many times? Yes. Cool, let's stop giving them that piece of gear.
Because, like, what the...
It's annoying. You know, granted, if it's if it's a piece that I can potentially get the residuum from, I'm a little happier about that. But there's like 13 gear slots.
I mean, if you want to give me incentive to run something over and over and over again, make it Black Temple level. I keep running that fucking thing so I can get the fucking glaive. I mean, what is the allure to keep running?
There's no carrot on the end of the string for us to go in to do these things, because, like I said, once you've got the gear, and especially once the Czar lore comes out, unless they do a gear inflation on the current Warfronts, there's not going to be much reason to want to run it, because normal is going to drop 385.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, I've got better things to do with my time.
Yeah,
it's just gonna go
the amount of
abandoned.
time that you're dedicating to that, you could kill 3 or 4 bosses.
And so, this might be an unpopular opinion. I don't give a shit. Them designing the Warfronts could have gone into them making BFA better.
Yeah, they put a lot of their eggs in that basket, and it's a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand the sentiment. They probably thought that we thought it was gonna be fun, but it just isn't.
They thought it was gonna be such an epic thing, and it really ended up being a very tedious event. And I will tell you right now that players do not like tedium. The majority of players don't like it. Now, if there's a reward at the end of it, like if there's a mount, or if there's, say, they're a pet collector, the people that go back and do the old raids, and they're like, oh, hey, I could get this cool-ass pet. They don't mind having to run it every week. That's fine.
Because, like, I'm still running...
Yeah, running for the glaives.
And then I'm also still going back to Mista Pandaria every week to kill the Shaw.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that I enjoy doing because there is a reward from it that I actually really want.
Yeah.
Like...
And it takes less time.
Like, thank you, Blizzard, for putting something in the game that you thought we as players were going to like, but it's just not... this ain't it.
Like,
sorry.
I really think that if they did have PvP Warfronts, they would be similar to Battlegrounds, but make them very RTS themed in that you still have to go and gather the resources.
Yes.
You still have to go and, take spots from the other faction.
It's just it being PvAI is not fun.
Yeah.
It, like, there's nothing to lose. That's what makes it not fun. There's nothing to lose and there's nothing to gain.
Okay, because if you lose, the other side doesn't gain anything. It's because it's computer generated.
Yeah, it's like I said, there's nothing to lose and there's nothing to gain. Like, what am I realistically gaining from this?
Yeah.
The only thing I'm losing is my time.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to mention, since you brought up, like, the pets and everything like that, is coming in is going to be, I think this is an 8.1.5, which is already, it's going to be on the PTR soon. So they're going to put in a new, like, Raiding with Leashes achievement, and they're going to do it based on Mista Pandaria. And the little Shaw pets they have, it is the most adorable, evil-looking thing I've ever seen. So, get ready for that. And they will also be bringing in the Coltirian and the Zandalari. So that's something to look forward to as well. So I think that we could probably wrap this one up a little quick here.
Yeah, I mean, this one's been a little bit shorter than our other ones, but...
it's pretty direct to what we're getting to, raid prep, get you guys ready to go.
We went on our annual rant.
Our nice little tirade there. Alright guys, so tune in next week. We will try to keep you updated upon what's coming for next week.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure quite yet, and we still need to solidify a new schedule, so I can't stress it enough to please follow us on Instagram or Facebook and let us know what is going to work best for you guys. I know that there's probably not that many of you guys listening, but the ones that are...
Thank you.
We would like to work with your schedules and what day the uploads will work best for you. Granted, like, you can listen to it any time throughout the week, but if you'd like to catch us early, like the day we come out, then we need to know what day works best for you guys. I'm thinking Wednesdays, because I think that's the only day that I can think of that we don't work.
Yeah.
Because, as some of you know, we have a weekend job. I work at home as well, so I don't know. I just need to find time in my schedule to be able to, record,
Work with it.
upload.
Yeah.
Um, Update on the merch. My store is currently not active. I will update my Instagram whenever it does become active again. So if you guys do want to buy merch, you can. So I will drop a link to our Instagram down below. If there are any topics that you guys would like to hear, please drop them on our Facebook or our Instagram or wherever, and we will get to researching them whenever possible. But I think that's it.
Oh yeah. We will definitely catch you guys next week, and we'll try to let you know as soon as possible what the new topic's going to be.
Alrighty, and see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.